All right, greetings, universe. Another week. So it's Friday morning. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, so this week wasn't bad. I mean, it was cool. I spent a lot of time with my aunt and uncle, which was nice. And last weekend, I spent the weekend also in Atlanta. Spent some time with a friend who's a psych survivor I met through the psych movement, and that was cool. And I've been kind of stressed. I've been stressed, like, not getting enough work done. And then, trying to like get these comedy shows promoted and running right and kind of being wrapped up in that and all these like different projects and just like kind of overwhelmed with different stuff that's going on. And Wednesday, like I really thought I was going to have a good turnout at my show. I did a comedy show in Clarkston, Georgia at the public library, and I had pretty good reactions to the Snapchat ads I ran, and I thought I was going to get a turnout, and I got 0 people. So that was like tough, and like right before the show started, like it was kind of frantic like they made me get a library card there, and I had to pay a fee to be an out-of-state library card, and then I had to pay a fee to use the room, and then they only accepted cash, but I didn't have cash, so like thing was like my time slot was gonna start, so I had to like run across the street and get cash and then come back, and 0 people showed up. It was like it was kind of, I don't want to say devastating, but I mean it's worse to fail in front of people. So at least it was like all by myself, kind of devastating. And then yeah, and then I had a friend of mine who was reaching out who was having some trouble, and I couldn't help her, and I was kind of wrapped up in my own thing and frustrated, and like I just felt like kind of useless to I couldn't help her. I was kind of couldn't help myself. I didn't know what to do. There's an embarrassed thing. It's like embarrassed and also like feeling like, geez, will I ever figure this out? Am I doing it all wrong? Like should I try to do things the normal way and like work in my local area, wherever that is, and like find a local scene and build up a thing and network with people and do, like all that stuff. And um, so yeah, that's been kind of a tricky-ish type of thing to kind of figure out. And then that night, I actually went and I drank some CBD tea. I went and bought some CBD oil and made like a CBD tea. And that felt like kind of numbing the pain. It didn't feel horrible. It wasn't like getting high, but it felt a little bit like, I just felt like kind of overwhelmed. And I guess it was a crutch of sorts. I wasn't happy to do that. I didn't really feel like kind of good about it, but it's not something I intend to do again as a pain number. I don't know, like it just wasn't really my vibe. I was kind of disappointed in it, and I just didn't like the idea of using like a substance in that way. And I've thought about like kombucha, like I've mentioned in here, my anger towards like this craving of kombucha, and like sometimes I drink those. I have trouble sleeping. Last night I had so much trouble sleeping. I don't know if it was because I don't know, when I used to smoke weed, when I quit, it was really hard to fall asleep, and I wonder if there was some element of that from like drinking that CBD tea on Wednesday, and then last night, Thursday night, I couldn't sleep at all. Like maybe, I don't know. I also started this week. What was fascinating was talking to this voice inside my head. It's hard to describe, but kind of this voice in there of, I don't know how to exactly describe it. It's like I'm having a conversation inside my head with another being that's in there, but it's really just me. And it's kind of like I'm almost like kind of picturing it like I'm like the yin and that's like the yang, and that I'm like the analytical kind of analyzing everything, really self-critical, trying to figure everything out. And then there's this other person in there that I'm talking to that is just totally chill and zen, and everything is going right and everything's going to be fine. And I can have like a conversation with them. And then, it's at first they were kind of, it feels like a distinct being in a way, like a like an I and a you, like hi. I'd say you. What do you think? And they'd reply back. So it's like there's me, and then there's another person who I talk to and say you in there, which is kind of interesting. Doesn't make me feel like I'm crazy or anything, because I think it could just be me. And then I kind of invented a third person in my head, and I don't know. It sounds crazy, but I don't know exactly what it is or what it means. But that was kind of, I was thinking about that while I was doing some yoga and like having this conversation with myself in a way. I did that a few times this week, and yeah, I don't know what to think of that. It could be, maybe that's something substantial. I don't know. And then I was thinking of making this be the last video of these videos. This whole video series was supposed to be how I got off psychiatric medications, and I've been off them now for a few months. And I kept thinking that, like, oh, well, after I'm off them, I need to keep the videos going to show that I didn't go crazy. And then I thought, well, I want to show that now I'm happy. And it all worked out. And that's not realistic. And I feel like I'm like going to keep making these videos until like I'm happy. And then everything is better, and I could say, see, it was the psych meds, But I don't think that's realistic. I don't know exactly what happiness is, and kind of the definition of it changes. And I almost feel like by making these videos, or by continuing to make these videos, it's like putting some external pressure on myself to like become happy, so that I'll like, so that this story will have a happy ending. But this isn't really supposed to be a story in a way. I mean, I guess stories are compelling. This is a boring story because nothing tragic happened. There's no fucking excitement, no climax. It's just me talking at a camera. I feel like mostly down or depressed, or maybe introspective. Like when I'm doing these, like I'm mostly kind of negative, I guess. But I feel like maybe doing, if I feel like now continuing to do these videos might be just putting a pressure on myself that I don't need to have. And like I'm interested in continuing them because like, oh, this thread about having this conversation with a voice in my head. Like, oh, that's cool. That's fascinating. Maybe that'd be something to flesh out, but that's not related to getting off psych meds and being happy and all that. I mean, I think it is interesting, maybe it's this other energy in me that's like trying to find balance and happiness, and seeing, that I'm putting too much pressure on myself, and I'm too, critical, trying to make everything be great and amazing and perfect and all that. But I don't know, I've wondered like how these videos would end, and I just feel like we've come like as far as we can with this. This was all about getting off meds, and I'm off meds, and I think I'm beyond that. And now, I've also wondered, like, was I better off on meds? Was I functioning better? Was I was probably working more and more structured on meds, maybe. But does that mean that I was better on them? Like, that just kind of means I was more fitting in the expectation of what society has, of what somebody's life looks like and everything. And I don't want to be necessarily locked in that. That's not necessarily happiness to me. That's not necessarily, being productive doesn't necessarily mean happy. I've already kind of decided that, work success or productivity and financial success and all that isn't really what brings me joy. I do chase after it, but it's not like fulfilling necessarily. So I just think, maybe this will just be the last video. It's an anticlimactic ending. It doesn't mean my life is over. It doesn't mean that I'll never make another video about anything. But as far as these weekly videos for this package of stuff called How I Got Off Psych Drugs or Psych Meds, this is the end. This will be it. It's not a negative ending. It's not a happy end. It's just it just is. There's no big peak there. There's no down. I mean, I could say, oh, the other night was really down, the comedy show. Honestly, this is not this isn't a low point. It's not a high point. you know, it just is. It is. And so there we go. The end.